Good morning, afternoon, or evening. For the Press Corps, I'm Jeffrey Jennings with a very important internal development. Bottom line up front, Siege Camp, the developers of Foxhole, has given the Press Corps a sponsorship in the form of a streaming PC, so that Press Corps members can go on the air when they want. We'll go over the background and implications of this piece by piece. From 2019 to early 2021, I had been running PressCorps Radio from my home. In technical terms, the OBS broadcast has been emanating from my personal computer. The goal of the radio was to fully realize the Corps' mission of immersion and roleplay using period-specific music and up-to-date, even live news. Operating costs weren't a problem, and I was able to configure my virtual audio mixer in a way that let me run the stream uninterrupted while I did other things in the background. The primary issue is how anything radio-related necessitated me being physically available at the computer in order to stop the music, go on air, and start up the music again when finished. My personal time has always been fluctuating for a variety of reasons, and trust me when I say I'm working on it. But for the foreseeable future, it will continue to be in flux. One solution was allowing Press Corps members to remote into the streaming computer, but granting internet strangers from around the world the ability to remote into my personal computer at will is a privacy issue I did not feel comfortable with. So having a separate, dedicated streaming computer that anyone could safely remote into was the next logical step. Of course, PCs aren't cheap, and in all good conscience, I couldn't allow anyone but me to invest in the project. Me, or Siege Camp. On the post-War 62 episode of Zero Dark Press Corps, fellow Corps member Rhodes Go Ever On surprised me with a question concerning the future of the Corps, in a very unsubtle way of encouraging the community to submit stories.
Their questions are pitched to what's the future of Foxhole. I'm curious what the future of PressCorps might be. Do you have any ideas for the growth of PressCorps, and how can the community help in growing and expanding what's happening here?
For the record, full disclosure, Rhodes is part of the Press Corps, and no, I did not ask him to ask me that today. This was not a setup.
Entirely me catching you off guard.
Yeah, but the truth is, the Press Corps, development of the Press Corps is completely contingent on my personal development, no matter how much I try to kind of spread the power around, try to spread the responsibilities around, and make it a communal effort amongst the Corps. It really just comes back to me. That's just the reality of it. Not that I take any particular pleasure in that, but just being able to run the stream from my studio. We did talk about maybe buying a computer, a separate computer that we can set up at someone's house, and then we can, I think I talked about this before, but we can do like remote desktop, and that computer is literally just for streaming. And I thought, you know what, I got some income, I made some savings, I can do $750. And then going back to my personal development, finances are a thing, and oh no, I cannot do that.
What we didn't expect was Siege Camp lead developer Mark, who was in the room at the time, reaching out to me on October 28, 2020 via DM about sponsoring a streaming PC. Upon hearing about this, I quickly informed the rest of the Corps, and over the course of the next month, I worked with members of the Corps to conceptualize a setup that could work, to which Press Corps members Boris Krishenko and Sean Valley volunteered to collaborate on, using PCPartPicker.com. Meanwhile, Moth B. Man volunteered to host the physical computer. We'll go over the details of the final setup later. My biggest concern, however, was the money. Spending the money responsibly and within the budget was my top concern. I again worked with Boris to assemble an Amazon purchase list, using the list he and Sean had assembled earlier from PC Part Picker. The number came out to just under $1,300 US, which was higher than the $800 we had originally projected for two reasons. One, the holiday buying season appeared to be driving up the prices of parts. I had failed to take into account that Boris, an Australian, was using Amazon.au, which calculated the prices from his end as opposed to from my American location. The final total came out to $1,060.45. All of these items were shipped to the residence of the PressCorps' Moth Bee Man, who generously volunteered his office space, power, and internet to house the computer, as well as his time and energy to assemble it. I had originally toyed with the idea of donating the excess funds to a charity, but it quickly became apparent that we had forgotten to purchase some items, and having a reserve isn't a bad idea in case things break or wear out. When the parts arrived, we realized I had forgotten to buy a monitor. Additionally, another fan was needed to get the proper airflow. Also, it was determined moving over 700 audio files over the internet would be a massive waste of time. So I purchased a 1TB external USB, loaded everything that would be needed onto it, and used my own money to send it via the United States Postal Service. Finally, Moth was having trouble getting the PC to start up, so he took it to a local computer repair shop just to be certain. As suspected, the issue lied in the power supply unit. The cost of this service came out to $125, which Moth paid for himself. As repayment, he requested a microphone and a pop filter, which came out to $118, and I bought using the sponsorship funds. On April 9th, 2021, the streaming computer was finally finished, and we began our 5-month test run of long-term broadcast, which brings us to today's announcement. One last point I'd like to make about the money is that Siege Camp, a Toronto-based company, receives subsidies for being a small business, and Moth Bee Man, a combat veteran, receives checks from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. This means the computer is, in fact, partially funded by the Canadian and American governments, and we can therefore unofficially proclaim that PressCorps Radio is public radio. As per our mission statement, quote, "The PressCorps is a non-profit creative
collective of artists, reporters, and players from the MMO video game Foxhole by Siege Camp. Our mission is to engross our audience in and amplify the stories of this unique war ecosystem."
Additionally, in our guidebook, which is currently available in the FAQ channel of the Discord, quote, "The PressCorps is dedicated to avoiding any form of payment for PressCorps projects. This includes PayPal, Twitch bits, Twitch subscriptions, and YouTube monetization. And for the following reasons. 1. Accepting any form of payment would require a standard of commitment. 2. Questions would arise of who gets how much money for what, and that could dissolve the community aspect. And finally, 3. Like Siege Camp's beliefs, money should not drive content. With this, points 1 and 2 still hold true. No one in the Corps, especially me, is profiting from the sponsorship since it's all going to the purchasing and delivering of the PC. Additionally, this isn't a player or a regiment sponsoring it. It's the devs, which means any undue influence from a specific group is taken out of the equation. Now, I actually brought up this point to Mark, who responded, quote, "There'd be no conditions at all, formally or otherwise, and the nature of the existing relationship wouldn't change in any way. If PressCorps decided to shut down the next day or criticize Clapfoot for whatever reason, there'd be no issue," unquote. Meaning our interactions on Zero Dark PressCorps should stay the same. As for point 1 about the standard of commitment, we will have to start collectively dedicating more time to it in order to not waste the privileges provided to us. However, I have always maintained to all members of the PressCorps that this is not a job. None of us are getting paid, and at the end of the day, it's a video game. And that's something we'll always continue to work on finding balance in. The point of all this is to have a computer that anyone in the PressCorps can access at any point in time, either directly or through an admin. This effectively takes me out of the equation on a technical level. In the coming weeks and months ahead, the Corps hopes to have more presence on the radio. That means DJ breaks, caller segments, live reporting, and other ideas. A bit more around the clock, and with a little less automation. There's going to be an abundance of learning, and there will be technical issues. Lots of them, since the entire operation is moving remotely, and I have to teach multiple people every little intricacy I previously internalized. But that's all okay. The PressCorps has always been, unintentionally, a place for people to develop and foster skills, and this case will be no different. I have complete confidence in this Corps of dedicated, passionate people. But those people don't come out of thin air. Foxhole is a big game and a big war, so properly covering all the events that take place will take a team. As such, we're always looking to bring aboard two kinds of people. First and foremost, reporters who are willing to collect and record information, analyze and compile data, and keep their fingers on the pulse of the war. Second, are broadcasters who take the information gathered by the reporters and convey it live on the air. In both cases, staff are expected to be neutral and non-biased in all PressCorps-related media. We don't cover petty things like community or regimental drama, just the events of the war itself. More technical roles like artists, translators, voice actors, etc. are taken in on an as-needed basis. If you're interested, visit the PressCorps Discord and ping an admin. The next phase of the PressCorps is really exciting, and I hope you'll find it so too. If you have ever interacted with one of our field correspondents, if you have ever submitted a story, if you have ever called into Zero Dark PressCorps, or even if you have listened into the radio for just a few minutes, thank you. Thank you for supporting us. We'll do our best to make it worth your while. That's all I have for now, but lots of exciting stuff up ahead. For the PressCorps, I'm Jeffrey Jennings. Good night and good fight.